biologically orchestrating loss or death to the living beings of an enemy state is termed as biological warfare. It is also known as bacteriological warfare. Acts of contaminating the water, air, and food resources of the enemy state with diseases and non-friendly bacteria is considered as a biological act of war. History is full of such acts that destroyed the nations. Practice of poisoning the enemy's wells is considered as the ancient practice of biological warfare. BWC or Biological Weapons Convention was signed in 1972 and is in effect since 1975. Currently, BWC has 183 parties to it and 109 signatories. The convention not only bars the use of biological weapons, it also shuns the production. In the modern history, Japan was fully equipped to use the biological weapons against USA in Second World War, but they did not do it. It is a known fact that when Japanese wanted USA to stay out of World War II, they nearly planned a biological attack on West Coast. A very successful Japanese naval commander, Admiral Yamamoto, was behind it. He was the very admiral who successfully conducted the air raid on Pearl Harbor. As every country was working on their super weapons, Japan was doing so as well. But Japan had a very different approach towards creating this super weapon. They had a plan to create a full fleet of super submarines at that time. And that super submarine was supposed to carry small planes. And they named the submarine I-400. As normally a submarine consists upon one single vessel, what Japanese wanted to do was to join two vessels to create one super submarine. The idea was to create a submarine that carries the small plane and while carrying them does not flip upside down. And how they wanted to use them? Well, their plan was that the submarines would near the west coast of USA and suddenly appear next to the western cities and take out the planes and bomb the cities. They also created the planes and they called them Seiron. These were the single-engine planes specially created for this super submarine that had ability to land on sea. At that time, only 18 submarines were ordered due to the steel shortages in Japan. As this project was undergoing, Admiral Yamamoto, while he was traveling from mainland Japan to a neighboring island, USA conducted a successful raid on his plane and he got shot down. And Admiral Yamamoto's death halted the mission. Next came the Admiral Arizumi, who took the charge of the same project. He suddenly thought that it could do very less damage to the west coast cities of USA. He suddenly came with another plan. He advocated that if Japan wanted to give a big blow to USA, rather than using normal bombs, Japan should be using the biological weapons. At that time, Vice Admiral Ozama suggested to bomb west coast cities with germs and diseases. Well, in 1930s, they have already been trying anthrax and cholera in Chinese cities. And while Japanese were testing these anthrax bombs on Chinese, they murdered more than 200,000 Chinese. They thought that if the same bombs were dropped in the west coast cities of USA, it could create panic and significant loss of life. But at the same time, there was one man who talked about the humanity within Japanese army. General Uematsu was the most senior general of Japan at that time. He simply cancelled the idea, saying, "Germ warfare against the USA would escalate to war against the whole humanity." The outbreak of coronavirus in China has generated a new debate in the world. Different conspiracy theories has emerged. And of course it is being termed as a part of clandestine mission against the Chinese. And of course eyebrows are raising against the CIA. Moreover, people do talk about the novel The Eyes of Darkness, because author does mention Wuhan in that. It is highly possible that a cure to the disease would be discovered very soon. And who knows, that might be a Western country. Then there'll be more people asking more questions. Was it part of US-China trade war? Was it to slow the pace of booming Chinese economy? Was it to cause a significant damage to Iran's economy of religious tourism? Or was it to remind the world on Western supremacy? In all cases, world needs to know that we live in a globalized world. Use of biological weapons against one country means they are being used against the whole humanity. Here, famous words of General Uematsu of Japan must be remembered. Germ warfare against one country would escalate to war against the humanity.